On this week's show, we talk about the upcoming Thanksgiving schedule and bike boot camps.
And we have our joint Pelo chapter with Dov Katz and much, much more.
Welcome to Pelo Buddy TV, your unofficial resource for everything Peloton. By the community, for the community. Here are your hosts, Mark O'Rourke in the UK and Amanda Siegel in the US.
Welcome to episode 16 of Pelo Buddy TV, a show for the Peloton community, by the Peloton community. I'm Amanda Siegel and I'm joined by my co-host, Mark O'Rourke. Mark, are you there?
I'm here, Amanda, and raring to go. I had an amazing 60-minute Matt Wilper's Power Zone ride this morning and full of energy, Amanda, ready to go.
Yeah, so for me, I got the pleasure of being down in Miami this week, a little bit of a change of scenery. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't been great. We've had some really blustering winds and no beach days, but it was nice to be down and again have a change of scenery as we head into the winter. So hence the different location you all see today.
The weather's it's got colder, Amanda, in the last few days, but it hasn't been too bad. We've had some sunshine. We've also had some rain. Typical UK weather for this time of year.
Before we get started with the news, we'd like to let you know, as we do each week, how to keep up to date with all our content across all of our platforms. Every episode, as well as breaking news items, is released on our YouTube channel. Just hit the subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side of the video and hit the notify button to make sure you never miss an episode.
Yeah, and we're on every podcast platform as well, Amanda, aren't we? So the likes of iTunes and Spotify and many, many more. So have a listen to us in the week if you're traveling back and forth from work or wherever you're going.
Finally, we're on Facebook and Instagram, as well as all other social media platforms. Make sure you search Pelo Buddy and follow us on all of these platforms for all of the latest news. So I guess, Mark, let's just get on with the show.
First, let's do a rundown of the latest Pelo news.
Amanda, Peloton has announced this week that their annual tradition of Thanksgiving Day turkey burn classes are going to be beginning soon. The Peloton 2020 turkey burn classes and schedule can be found on the pelobuddy.com website, but it includes 2 outdoor runs with the 2 mats and 2 45-minute turkey burn rides with Alex and Robin. Amanda, last year, Peloton also started the Gratitude Collection, and it's back. Peloton's Gratitude Week 2020 will take place from November 23rd to 29th and includes meditations, runs, cyclings, cardio, boot camps, and a lot more. And of course, a holiday badge will be available. Do you actually collect the badges, Amanda?
Yeah, Mark. So it's going to be a full week as the Americans head into Thanksgiving week. It's a big week for us. It definitely is the start of the festive season. And I have definitely enjoyed those turkey burn rides in the past. So this year will be no different. And in fact, I have a group of, I think there are about 30 of us that are all joining, some physicians and friends from my fertility practice that I work at, are all going to be jumping on. So it's always fun to ride with a swarm, and definitely will need it because our Thanksgiving meals are pretty extensive. Although this year it is going to look a little bit different, I think, for everybody. We're certainly not feeling the same way as we did, and we've chosen to keep it rather small this year, as I'm sure most folks in the States and are doing. So it's definitely going to be a different look for Thanksgiving. But hopefully, by the time we head into Christmas, there'll be a little bit more normality. Who knows, right? Yeah, Mark. So this week we did see the launch, though, of live bike boot camps, and the fact that they are now in their own top level category. As we all recall, when the bike boot camps were first released, they were actually grouped together with cycling. This was definitely frustrating for some members, and of course, folks were quick to post on social media. Peloton's response was that they were waiting to have more classes before they separated the two, which certainly does make sense. It is now all done, and one can now go ahead and search for boot camps separately, either tread or bike. One can also filter by class type, so you can look for body focus, body weight, or music. An additional benefit that is now available is that you should be able to achieve separate personal bests. Interestingly, though, moving forward, bike bootcamps will be counted separately from cycling classes. However, previously taken classes will remain under your cycling count. One last point, though, for some reason, the Apple Watch integration with the Bike Plus doesn't seem to work on bike bootcamps yet. Definitely something to stay tuned for, because you know that our Chris Lewis will give you that information as soon as it comes available. But I am actually really pleased, though, that we have the ability to separate those out and that one can start and work on their own achievements for the bike bootcamps, because it is definitely a different workout than to being just on the bike, as are the tread bootcamps. Definitely a different workout than if you're doing a single run on the tread. So yeah, definitely something to look out for, and obviously, hopefully, for those of us that have the Bike Plus, have the integration with the Apple Watch as well.
Brilliant. And in other news, Peloton have announced a new acquisition, Amanda. Several outlets are reporting this week that Peloton have quietly acquired some intellectual property from a company called Peerfit, a digital fitness benefit startup based out of St. Pete, Florida, not far from where you are. Following those reports, the team and Exits and Outcomes did some additional reporting. They discovered that 30% of Peerfit's employees had recently joined Peloton. Amanda, assuming the reports are correct, what is Peloton actually gaining here? Well, I think it appears that Peloton's efforts to grow their commercial and corporate side of their business will be their ultimate goal. So, another acquisition.
Yeah, Mark. So it was announced this week that the class action lawsuit against Peloton is actually going to continue. It was ruled by Judge Lehman that New Yorker Eric Fisher, who is the lead plaintiff, can continue to pursue the suit on the claims that Peloton's alleged actions were consumer-oriented and deceptive, or misleading in a material way. As some of you may remember, Peloton was sued back when the music was all purged, when they had their issues with the licensing of the music, and there were all those thousands of classes that were purged. Fisher had gone on to say that he had bought a bike and then a treadmill, relying on the company's claims of offering the largest interactive platform in the world, but felt deceived and said that the company cheated Fisher. Due to the slew of arbitration demands, Peloton has refused to abide by the terms of its own arbitration clause and ignored the American Arbitration Association's requirement that it pay filing fees for demands seeking less than $10,000. Peloton's lead attorney in the suit, Stephen Feldman of Houston Hennigan LLP, said in an email, "We are gratified with the court's decision granting Peloton's motion to dismiss in part and look forward to defeating this case in full." Certainly going to be an interesting one to keep an eye out on for this. But it just goes to show you, Mark, that everybody's out to make a quick buck somehow. It's so sad, no?
It's the way of the world, isn't it, Amanda? The way of the world.
Yeah.
And talking of lawsuits, a long-running legal battle between Peloton and Icon Health and Fitness, makers of NordicTrac, Treadmill and their brand, are continuing this week in court. Peloton has filed a new lawsuit in public court filings. Peloton said that the confidential information Icon allegedly tried to steal includes its planned advertising and marketing strategy, descriptions of the advertisements and strategic discussions, and future confidential unannounced features and plans. Bloomberg also reports that Icon has responded, saying this new lawsuit is baseless retaliation for a patent infringement claim Icon made against Peloton last month. Amanda, it's not very often we don't cover a lawsuit on Pelo Buddy TV, is it?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Amanda, as we know, Peloton cannot make products quick enough right now. You know, we have covered lengthened delivery times recently over the last few weeks. Well, this week, a report from MooneyDJ.com says Peloton will take further steps with Rexon, one of their manufacturing partners, who have begun to implement a two-shift system in its assembly line, where all Peloton product lines are in short supply, and will continue to invest in capital expenditures to expand production, It is expected that the tight production capacity will continue until June 2021, when a new plant is expected. It's worth noting, Amanda, that Peloton is not only their customer, and all other fitness equipment companies they're dealing with too are largely and likely to be seeing huge surges in demand, just like Peloton are. So some of the increased production capability at Rexon will be for other customers as well.
Well, I'm sure that that's going to be very welcome, though. And getting that production up and running is something
it is needed, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, so this week there was another new filter on the bike and app, the Not Taken by Me. One can now search for classes that have not been taken. For some, the filter appeared and then disappeared. But interestingly enough, I actually still have it. I guess one should check their own bike to see if it's still there. But that's definitely going to be a useful feature to have, because if you want to go ahead and search by classes that you haven't taken by a certain music genre or a certain effect, whether it be a pop ride or a 30-minute endurance ride, you can now go ahead and take a look at that, and you can look by those that you have not yet taken. So it'll filter it down just a little bit more. I like that feature. I really do.
Amanda, as you know, because we've covered this many times, Android apps, and that they're somewhat behind the iOS apps. But this week, Peloton have added a new feature in Android Peloton digital app, the ability to share completed and up-and-coming workouts to your Instagram stories. This was first added as an iOS-only feature at the beginning of September this year. The feature works the same on Android as it does on iOS. If you aren't familiar with how it works, you can see a demo of the feature from an iOS app on Pelo Buddy TV via YouTube. Amanda, for both the Android and iOS version, you can share either completed workouts or up-and-coming workouts you plan to take. Once Instagram opens, you are able to decorate the image or the video with any stickers or words you wish to add. Sounds like fun, Amanda, and I know that you love your Instagram, don't you?
I do, Mark. I do. And, I always felt guilty that we were able to do it with our iOS and our iPhones. But I'm glad to see that Android has stepped up, and that's another feature. And it seems now that they're definitely getting up there with the iOS and are sharing what they need to be as quickly as iOS is. So that is fun, because it is a fun way. We all love to share our rides. So it is a fun way to be able to do that. Yeah, so each week we wait to see what new artist series is going to drop. And after last week's huge Beyonce artist series drop, we anticipated nothing major this week. But oh no, this week we got another two. Metallica was dropped with a ride by Kendall last Wednesday evening. Gosh, Mark, it was a 45-minute long ride. And from my understanding from those folks that are active on social media, it was tough. I am not a Metallica fan and not a rock fan. So I don't think that this is going to be one that I'm going to be taking. But I know that there was a ton of buzz as far as the ride went. Eric actually, interestingly enough, gets to do a Metallica ride too, and that will be done on Monday. So it'll be nice to see the German community getting involved in the artist series, and I'm assuming that it's going to be in a German language ride. So that should be fun to see. Also in the schedule was a full body strength by Andy Spear, a power yoga by Dennis, and a tread bootcamp by Olivia. The German community, again, they got something this week. It is actually the German community's 1-year anniversary. And with that came Irene's 1-year anniversary. She was honored to do an artist series ride by a German artist, Tim Bensko. I'm not familiar with Tim, but I know that the German community certainly were very excited about it. And what was so amazing is that he actually joined the ride, and there was a ton of high-fiving that was going on. Following our friend Jules, Katharina, who is on the show periodically with the German news, she got to do a milestone ride, and she said it was so much fun. The German community, I think just being so small, Mark, gives them an opportunity to be able to really follow follow one another, probably like you guys did with the puck community back when we first started. But it does give them an opportunity to interact. And Irene's amazing in that she does communicate with her German community quite frequently. We see her answer on the social media platforms that she uses and interacts with them. So that's really exciting. And congrats to Irene on her 1-year Peloversary. And we can only see that German community growing from strength to strength. It certainly is a very active one.
Yeah, in other news, Amanda, Peloton's own Gwen Riley was interviewed in Rolling Stone at Work feature this week. Gwen is the former Disney executive who has championed the massive artist deals with Beyonce through to the Grateful Dead. As head of music at Peloton, Riley thinks of herself as equal parts, equal business person and storyteller. The New Hampshire native studied law at Boston College, but wanted to keep music at the center of her world, having grown up with a pianist mother and a jazz musician father. So she spent 10 years at Disney, where she led business affairs in the entertainment company's music department. Riley made the jump to Peloton last August and was promoted this year to Senior Vice President of Music, responsible for drawing major artists to the fast-growing bike and exercise subscription company. And we've seen that, haven't we, for sure. It's been super successful. Absolutely. Now, Amanda, you're going to like this next bit of news. So like you, like me, we love our favourite instructor, Leanne Hainsby, don't we? And her new bike series dropped this week. It's called Work It Out. Leanne said on Instagram earlier in the week that I'm so excited to get on the bike with you this coming Friday for my first ever series, Work It Out. This is our 30-minute ride together, hang out as friends. We'll be sweating, getting fit, and having a real good laugh over lots of different topics. Whatever the topic is, we will always work it out. So, I think that was brilliant, Amanda. And I know that you've jumped on one of her classes this week, haven't you?
Yeah, Mark, I definitely jumped on Leanne's Work It Out ride. That series is fantastic. And I'm so thrilled that she gets to have her own series. It was certainly fun to get on there. Leanne spoke about breakups, makeups, and everything in between, as you mentioned. And she's just so lovely. What I thought was really cute, though, was that she, in part of the ride, said, Ben asked me before I got on this ride as to whether I was going to talk about our relationship. And I avoided the question. But of course, she did bring up their relationship and how they started out, and of course having to keep it secret. So we were all in anticipation waiting for that. We knew she would say something. What was really cute, though, was that Ben was at the show at the studio that day and was sitting outside, and she posted on her social media him taking a look at her on stage and performing. And I'm probably thinking, oh God, Leanne, what are you going to say about us? But it was really fun to hear what she had to say. And I guess you're going to have to do the ride if you want to learn more. But it was a fun way to start her series. So that is going to be one that I think is going to be, I think there were about 2,000 people live on the ride on Friday morning. So definitely one that I'm going to be on every single one. So that was kind of fun.
Also in instructor news, Amanda, Jen Sherman is launching her own new series on Sunday the 22nd. Jen said she's looking forward to Sunday for the debut of my signature series. It's called Cover to Cover. As a passionate music fan, no one loves a great cover song more than me, she went on to say. I've searched high and low to discover some amazing reinterpretations of songs that you know and love. And of course, I'll be throwing in some of the classics as well. So Jen went on to say that check out her IGT, her Instagram TV channel, and she posted a few days ago to take a deeper dive into the new series. And I think it's going to be an exciting one, and they're certainly doing lots of series, aren't they, Amanda?
Yeah, Mark. So interestingly enough, Jen Sherman was who I actually started out my Peloton journey with. Probably just the fact that we're the same age and we have kids the same age. I seem to gravitate towards her rides, and I absolutely adore Jen. She's wonderful, but she definitely has a command of the music on that bike. There's no question that her last core rides have been very well attended, and I think that this this cover series that she's doing. The music's going to be phenomenal. So I definitely want to include those into my, into my repertoire of different rides that I do. And then, right, Mark, I think there was one last about the country rides.
There is, Amanda. Yeah. And good way in. I like it. Amanda Peloton teamed up with Spotify this week to bring a special country themed weekend to their workouts in a collaboration with Hot Country Spotify playlist. The result was 3 different classes: a ride, a run, and a yoga class, all of which are now available on demand. And details can again be found on Pelo Buddy TV and .com. Amanda, you have a few more news stories about instructors, I think.
Yeah, lots of instructor news. And in more instructor news, it was announced Wednesday by online resource Deadline that A3 Artist Agency have signed both Cody Rigsby and Ben Oldis under its digital media licensing and branding arm. As we know, Cody, who is a former professional dancer, serves as Peloton's director of cycling content. Cody is well known for his singing, dancing, and silliness on the bike. He's also a fitness and lifestyle influencer with, can you believe, Mark, more than 500,000 followers on Instagram and Facebook combined. And boy, oh boy, Cody definitely knows how to party it on the bike. There is no question that everybody just sits and laughs at him, or rides and laughs at the funny, quirky things that he has to say. So it'll be nice to see that he's now being channeled by by A3, and for certainly from a marketing perspective, that'll be great for him. It was also announced by Deadline at the beginning of the week that Tunde, she was signed by ICM partners for representation in all areas, including voiceover and animation. Tunde, who is a Texas native of Nigerian descent, who's been featured on the Today Show, the New York Times, Access Live, and Women's Health, has her own signage now with ICM. More news on Cody. This week, he was featured in Pop Sugar Fitness, talking about journaling, meditation, and setting workout boundaries. While Cody is naturally charismatic, a lot of who he is makes up the characters of 3 pillars, he claims: success, physical, and emotional, and mental wellness. Cody is quoted to say, "I take being a leader with a platform that touches and influences a lot of people with humility and responsibility. I try to be as vulnerable, as authentic as possible." So definitely, that's Cody. I mean, I think he is true to the core. He is very open about his sexual orientation. He talks about it beautifully. And I think he's just so inclusive of the community. So that's really been cool to see. And his interview with Pop Sugar was fantastic. So Emma Lovewell, at the beginning of the pandemic, moved out of Manhattan and chose a place upstate New York, I guess to get out of the craziness that New York was experiencing. And they absolutely loved being up there. She just announced on social media that the place that they had been in had been rented, but they actually found a new place that they've bought. While she'll still commute into the city for work and recordings, she is going to be living upstate. She does go on to say that the house is a bit of a mess and they need to do a major demolition and remodel. So she said she will keep us informed as she goes along and gets that done. So it'll be fun to kind of watch and see what they're doing. I love that the instructors, Mark, share with us their own personal, day-to-day lives. It makes us feel so part of them. And one of the things that Emma actually loves to share is her cat, her beautiful cat. And I am not a cat lover, but Emma's cat is so sweet. It's called Kimchi. And she takes Kimchi out on her paddleboard. The place that she was renting had a beautiful lake, and she would often go out early in the morning, and you would kind of see the mist come up off the lake. And of course, this was all on her social media. But Kimchi loved to be on the paddleboard, and she started videoing her little outings with Kimchi. One of her videos got over 1 million views. So everybody loved seeing what Kimchi had to do on the paddleboard. So that's Emma in the news. And lastly, Mark, Alex Toussaint. Alex was featured and got to introduce week 10 of Fox's NFL kickoff with an amazing, amazing ad. And, he's just got such an incredible spirit about him. And the ad apparently was fantastic. And he went on to posted on his social media saying how much fun it was to be a part of that. So yeah, lots of instructor news again this week. And of course, we all love to hear everything about them.
So one last bit of news, Amanda, that Peloton have just announced that they will be finishing with sessions on Tuesday this week. Temporarily, it will come back, but it was a beta test. So yeah, loads of news, Amanda, and yeah.
Let's get to know another person behind the leaderboard name in Pelo Chats.
And now it's time for Pelo Chat. Mark and I are so pleased to welcome this week Dov Katz. Dov is a UK community member who has, interestingly enough, been living in Israel for the last 9 months or so through the pandemic. Mark, aren't we so thrilled to have him on the show?
Amanda, it's a real thrill. Dov, you and I both know Dov really well. We message one another, we interact with one another, we ride with one another, and it's so great to have Dov on the call, all the way from Israel.
Exactly. Dov, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Mark. It's really great to be speaking to you.
Fantastic to have you on. We're so thrilled. Well, you have been a very busy guy in the last few months, and we're going to chat about that. And one of the reasons we decided to have you on is because you found yourself a little hobby and a side gig with your experience. But I think let's start off by finding out a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Dov Katz, as mentioned. I currently live in Israel. As you can tell from my accent, I'm neither from the UK or from Israel. I was actually born in the States, but we relocated here about 9 years ago. I have 4 beautiful children. We live in a city called Modi'in, which is halfway between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, and just lovely here. I work in technology and financial services in London, so I find myself commuting for the last 9 years to London on a more or less weekly basis until COVID hit. So about March time last year, I haven't really traveled there except for one day, and I'll explain that maybe later on in the interview. But otherwise, I've been at home with my family, working from the house, and spending a lot of time on my bike as well.
Well, I'm sure that your wife and kids have been thrilled. Well, some of us have not been too thrilled about this pandemic and where we've landed, right? I'm sure that your wife and kids are so thrilled to have you there on a more permanent basis. But I know for someone that travels a lot like myself, it's hard. It's hard to give that up all of a sudden and find yourself just in one place, right?
Definitely hard to change the lifestyle, but as far as I'm concerned, it's been a blessing in disguise. It's obviously a lot of people impacted in all sorts of ways that are devastating, but for me, it's just been amazing.
And Dov, what a country to be living in. As you know, we've had this conversation many times, haven't we? I'm so envious of you living in Israel. It's one country that I so want to travel to. I know Amanda's been, but I just can't wait to get over to Israel once we get rid of this epidemic and things go back to hopefully some normality. But yeah, and now listen, you've got a great story, haven't you, Dov? And I want you to tell everyone about it. You have a significant story in that you lost quite a lot of weight. Maybe you can tell the community about that.
Sure. Yeah. So I've struggled with fitness my whole life, weight in particular, but exercise I've tried and gone to pretty much some extremes of the exercise over the years, but never really retained any success over time. So about, I guess, a year and a half ago, I guess at this point, I decided to go for a lifestyle change. Let's call it May of 2019, and decided I was going to go on some form of diet, get a coach, figure out what to do with my eating. So I did that, and I'd actually bought a Peloton. My brother and I both bought them together, sent them on a shipping container to Israel. And I tried it for probably 3-4 times, maybe a month, and then it kind of died off. So I had that sitting in my room, but I was really focused on eating. Did a kind of a diet with a coach, started tracking it all in a Google sheet. And, after about 3 months of mixed success, but eventually a little bit of progress, I got back from my summer trip to the States, ended up in Israel, in August, like, maybe it's time to put exercise back in. So I give the bike another go, and then found myself really getting hooked on it. The only problem is I traveled to London. So Monday through Thursday, I had no access to a bike. But I believe around that time, so we're talking September of 19, the UK showroom started opening, and I kept seeing in Canary Wharf, there's going to be a Peloton store here. So over time, I used to do it, I guess, Friday, Saturday night, Sunday, and Monday when I'm home. But then at some point that store opened and I'm like, oh, I'm going to check this out. And that became like my second home. And I found myself going there. The studio opened, the interim studio in London. And then I'm like, wait, I can get a ride in on the way to the airport Thursday night. So instead of having maybe a whiskey in the lounge, my relaxation became go hit the Peloton studio and get a live ride in. And then I met some wonderful people, the community, everything. It was just, it all came from there.
Isn't that unbelievable? I mean, how amazing how we say this bike is this bike that goes nowhere, and yet look at you. You've managed to find, these different accessibility points for you to be able to keep going and enjoy the bike. That's amazing. How did you originally get to Peloton? I mean, I know you said you bought one and you didn't kind of use it initially, but how did you initially become accustomed, with the platform?
So my brother, who is way fitter than I am for much longer than I am, decided when he was shipping some things overseas, he lives in Jerusalem, when he was making a shipment, he decided he was going to buy one. And he's like, Dov, you want to buy one too? I'm like, sure, I love throwing money at this problem successfully. But, I'm like, if I can do anything that can get me more motivated, I bought machines. They've never been used, but I'll do it with him. And he had another friend doing it. So I'm like, it wasn't the opportunity to send big things overseas is rare enough when you find someone where it's a marginal cost. Let's just do it. So I did it. And that's when I brought it in. And again, a month, this is cool, but really not engaged in the community. I probably didn't even know there was a community, UK or not UK at that point. I just kind of like, it was a bike and I was taking classes on it. It wasn't really till I started to get, into it more seriously that I somehow discovered there was this community, and that kind of unlocked a lot of the, retention value for me, to have a place to discuss it with people. But yeah, it was him. I credit him with bringing it. And we've just gone and ordered the Bike Plus to see if we can get that over here. Hopefully, if all goes well, this week, his and mine will arrive in port, and then at some point we customs clear it and bring it over. So
it might be the first Bike Pluses in Israel, Dov.
I reckon so.
Yeah, so, fantastic. And I know that we covered something you did in the community. I think it was on the one of the last. I think it was the last episode, and it's something that I know that you've focused on a lot of late. And maybe you can tell everyone about this statistics that you've been working on and how relevant it's been to some of the issues that we've had in Peloton over the last few weeks.
Sure. So just a little bit of background. For fun, I like to program. I'm a technologist at heart. We're producing so much data. So I kind of wanted to figure out how can I get my hands on some of this data. So there's some stuff you could download, your workouts. I decided to look into it a bit more. And in the end, over time, I just built a few experiments of these are the various things I could do with the data. But as maybe in the last couple of months, there have been some challenges in the UK with rides that would buffer. They would just take too long to load. You'd stop in the middle and get some spinning wheels. And it turns out some of the data I was collecting actually had the number of seconds per ride. So in addition to your output and your cadence and your resistance, there was a metric stuffed in there somewhere that was the number of seconds of buffering per ride. I'm like, oh, this is cool. So what can I do around that, that I can at least see how often it's happening to me? Sure. I hear enough of the complaints in the US, it wasn't happening. So my friends in the States didn't really mention it, but in the UK, you'd see all sorts of posts. Yeah. So I'm like, what can I do with that? So I finally found a way to collect it for myself. Then I found a way to collect it for other people. And I kind of said, can I automate this? Let people maybe get the list of their rides that they buffered on, and I'll collect all that data and try to, anonymously map it and just see what does it look like. So we got like 50, 60 people who did that. And meanwhile, they got their list of rides, and I was able to put together this map of where all the buffering took place, and now it's just a piece of data that I collect when I collect my own rides, and hopefully it's always zero, right?
And it's improved, hasn't it, Dov? It has improved.
It has. I think when you do the Power Zone rides, you're really lucky. You almost get like a flight plan from the instructor, and you know exactly where to be and when to be there. So you kind of just, if you miss a few minutes, you're just kind of going according to the time. Not that it's not frustrating, but like when you know where you're supposed to be, so the graph looks beautiful at the end and all that, because I'm a data guy, at least you have that. But otherwise you're just scratching your head, really heart rate up, and you just seeing spinning wheels and no noise. And it was frustrating enough to just kind of, I wanted to get more information on it and help inform Peloton when it's happening, at least our community. So we all
do you know if the information was used by Peloton, Dov? Did you get any sort of feedback or?
I mean, they have the information, they're producing it, right? So I reckon they've got all the information they need to do an analysis. I was thinking more as a community, right? You're not alone. People who have it aren't alone. Look how much it's happening. Okay. And this is just a sample of people who decided they wanted to get it. Yeah. So it was more for the fun of it, really. I just had all this data. What can I do with it? There's a guy in the community, Mr. InsureTech, Nigel, who put together some really cool visualizations after doing our Sunday pyramids in the mornings. And I'm like, he's the one that got me hooked. So kudos to you, Nigel. He got me hooked on Google Studio, where you can get the data visualized.
It's his fault.
I'm like dashboards. This is awesome. So, it's definitely his fault. He's fed the addiction. So
It is amazing, though, how we take something like a bike and create, from the pyramids, and that's how you and I actually met, was we kind of saw a connection there as far as the Sunday pyramids, the crazy American that got an American that got on a bike at 5:30 in the morning on a Sunday. That unfortunately that didn't last very long. No. But I did do a couple.
I did a couple as well.
Yeah. But I never understood why you'd wake up at 4:30 a.m. to get on a bike at 5.
Yeah, neither did my husband. Neither did my husband.
So, at least you should put the one time of the year that it's an hour shorter. I guess there's that 1 week where we have.
You're right, and that was the only week I didn't. Not the only, but the week I didn't even think of doing it. Right. You're right. I should have considered it. But it is funny. We talk about community, and we talk about how this community has brought everyone together. I loved finding out, as you and I became friends, that you just play a little bit of Jewish geography, right? And we find people all over the world. So there you are, an American who's living in Israel, who works in London, a South African who's living in America and loves to travel to London. And the two of us have a mutual acquaintance. Well, she's a very good dear friend of mine, but somebody that you grew up with. How bizarre is that?
Just what's the chances, right? She literally was in my grade school classes growing up. And this is just, haven't heard her name for a lot of friends of mine. We haven't kept in touch. I guess with Facebook, it's all easy now. But close friends of mine have kept in touch. And I guess they also found the story just crazy. They obviously don't know the Peloton community when I explain it to them why it's so crazy, but it's crazy how these paths kind of cross.
What a small world.
It is. It's such a small world. Yep. So Dr. Anat Brower and Dov Katz, I'm going to insist that she gets to watch this show. She does watch, I have to say. She does watch every now and again. But I'm going to have to tell her she's going to have to watch and get to see you. And how cool is that? I really thought that was just amazing how the world is literally so small. And even through this Peloton community, look at all the friends we've all made. And honestly, some of you guys have become some of my closest friends. It is pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. And we have a following.
Amanda. Sorry before we forget, and while it's in my mind, I think there's some congratulations for Dov as well on his 700th ride.
That's right. Yes. And how this community all rallied around you on Thursday. So you had your 700th ride on Thursday. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess I started off this whole Peloton journey, and I found myself really obsessed with the beats of Alex Toussaint. Really, I'm a drummer. He loves, he was always on beat. Then I guess over time I found others. When I was in the UK community, I started to really take to the UK instructors. And Hannah became my go-to person for Milestones, and just also in the studio. She had these great, I guess they all had these morning rides. I miss those. Thursday mornings, the arms afterwards, amazing what 5 minutes can do to you, or 10 minutes of low weights can do to you, but it does it. So I found myself, I really just enjoy taking her rides, and this is any opportunity to find a live ride that I can get in the morning. it's great when I get a chance to do it with her. So it's can't believe it's
That's
700
fantastic.
already. I mean,
isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? I mean, congratulations. I'm sure it was absolutely fantastic. Because I mean, that is what, and it's amazing how the community all rally around, right? So you just put out there that you're, doing a milestone ride, and before you know it, you have a whole bunch of folks that are on there doing it with you. So congrats,
absolutely.
Huge congrats on that.
It's amazing. I think my last machine I owned, Milestone, was probably 10 runs on a treadmill. I don't think I ever made it more than 10 of any milestone.
Yeah.
And any other machine I've ever owned, and I've owned a few. So this
The magic
is
of Peloton.
something that's here to stay.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you have certainly, given us an amazing story to share. And of course, the community, the European community, specifically the UK, are so appreciative of what you did to kind of get down and get down and dirty as far as the buffering went. I'm pleased to hear that it is doing much better. So hopefully some of the information that you had there got to Peloton somehow, and they, were able to rectify some of the issues that they were having. So that was certainly very helpful. Anything else you want to share with us? Anything before we wrap this up?
I don't know. I think just other data stuff. I mean, for people that are into coding, into programming, I made a Facebook group for it. I called like Peloton and Whoop Coders. The Whoop stuff is also interesting to me. People that are interested, it's a whole lot of fun, and there's a Facebook group to join. So kind of encourage people that are interested to go do it. And I've shared all the code I wrote, so it's I think that's awesome. That's amazing, because I think people do like the data. I mean, I know that I go back just on what Peloton give me, just where you can download your rides, and I'll sort them by, what I've done and look at my progress. And I'm not quite as sophisticated as you, Dov. We'll leave that bit to you. But I do like to see that data. I do like to see how I've improved and what my different output is and that type of thing. Well, it'll be interesting. I'm curious to hear how you find the Bike Plus. Hopefully, it clears customs with no problem, and you get to enjoy it. I have to say, I feel like a broken record, but I found it to be much harder. The resistance is significantly different, but I have to be honest. It's amazing how it just pushes you harder. And I've said this to you, Mark. We've had this discussion over and over.
Right.
It does make you push. And I'm seeing, every time I get on, I just see my output kind of getting back to where I was, on the original bike. So I'm not moaning as much as I used to. But I'm curious to hear what you think about it. So we'll definitely have to follow back up and see what you think of the Bike Plus. And it's interesting.
Definitely.
I will share. I'm actually I'm away this week. I'm down in Miami, and the gym in my apartment does have 2 Peloton bikes. My husband tells me it's the only reason we moved into this apartment was because there were 2 Peloton bikes. But it is interesting because I'm using a different bike. And it was definitely, I missed my Bike Plus. So at first I would tell people that, I think I made a mistake. I probably shouldn't have done it. But you know what? Over the last few weeks, I've definitely been using the auto resistance more. So I'm curious to hear how you think about that. And I don't have it on this bike. My integration, my gym kit integration with my Apple Watch. Now I have to set my damn watch before I get on the bike, as opposed to just lifting it up to the screen. So it's interesting. It was interesting to. We spoke about it on the show, but it was interesting to hear, to see the differences.
Well, I'm looking forward to trying it out.
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to trying it out. We have a big challenge with me right now is I'm in the middle of a power zone thing, which I never thought I'd get into, but now I'm into it. And you can't really mess with your power zones in the middle of the challenge.
Okay.
Do I do 2 FTP tests? What do I do? I'm going to keep those bikes through the end of the challenge. At some point, I'll sell or give my other bike to someone else. So, the more bikes in this country, the better.
Absolutely.
Right now, I'll have 2. I'll have my mini Peloton studio. I'll do some comparisons, and I'll have what to share.
That even more interesting, Dov. Yeah, I look forward to seeing that data.
So, Dov, to end off, we're going to do our fun 60-second descent and recovery. I'll fire away a bunch of questions, and I'm going to have you answer them as quickly as you can. And it's just a fun thing we do, and we love to see if you can get all of them in those 60 seconds. Sound like a plan?
Perfect. Sounds great.
Fantastic. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Bike or tread? Favorite instructor?
Hannah Frankson.
High cadence or high resistance?
I'm going to say high cadence.
Early bird rider or night owl?
Oh, early bird for sure.
Meditation or strength training?
Strength training.
Live or on-demand classes?
I'll say on demand right now.
First class you've ever taken?
30 minutes with Alex Toussaint, I think.
All right. And craziest leaderboard name you've ever seen?
So I'm not sure what it was, but whatever it was, when I was on a ride with Alex, he basically said he'd get fired if he said it. So I'm going to assume that whatever that was, so whoever's listening, if that was you, that's the craziest leaderboard name. But I don't know what it is.
Oh, that is too funny. That is too funny. And I'm sure the curiosity is deep, right? You'd love to know what it said up there, right?
Someone will have to post. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, you did amazing. You answered all those questions brilliantly. So thank you so much for that. I guess the most important question for all of us, right, is what's your leaderboard name?
My leaderboard name is Dovops, D-O-V-O-P-S, and it's just a take on a technology term, since I'm in tech, called DevOps. So with my name being Dov, it seemed like an easy one. So I kind of use it for everything.
Love it. It's perfect. That's amazing. Well, I know that I'm really thrilled that I got the opportunity to be part of this. It was fun, Mark, wasn't it, to be able to do this together?
We knew that we knew. I mean, I love doing a Pelo Chat with you, Amanda, but I knew that Dov would be a good guy to get on. And as I say, we've been meaning to do it for a while. And it's turned out exactly the way that we thought it would. Really, really, really interesting, Dov. And you made some great points. And I'm sure the whole community out there, Pelo Buddy TV viewers, will enjoy this chat in particular. I think it was great. I agree.
And we'd love to have you on again. So huge congrats again on 700, and we'll see you on that leaderboard.
Thanks for having me on.
Cheers, Dov.
Bye for now.
It's time to celebrate our fans' milestones with Pelo Shouts.
The Determinator, happy 200 today. Thank you for joining me. You can't understand.
Jack Cave, 250. Kerry Potts, 250.
Rob G75, 700 rides. Big Dov Sod. Have you 600, congratulations.
Mackie G looking good for 200. Come on. Stay with me, my friend. Come on.
Papa Dan, what's going on? Happy 200 rides today.
We got Mrs. Malcolm, happy 200 rides today. A blind bat, happy 200 rides as well.
Did you hit a milestone this week and get a shout out by your favorite instructor? Don't forget to let us know.
Yeah, so it was another bumper show, folks, and we really appreciate you coming on and getting to, whether it be on the podcast or whether it being, on our premiere or going back to hearing it on Facebook or Instagram. We so love that you get to join us. And again, each week we tell you if there's anything that you guys want to hear or you guys want us to focus on, please let us know, whether it be via direct message or on pelobuddy.com. Please feel free to let us know. But thanks so much for getting to watch. And so from here in Miami, I say bye for now.
And from here in the UK, goodbye, everybody.
Thank you for watching Pelo Buddy TV, your unofficial resource for everything Peloton. By the community, for the community. Don't forget that we have a podcast available so that you can listen to us while on the move. Just search for Pelo Buddy TV on any major platform and hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.